All right, welcome back to another episode of the Fan Connection podcast. Today we're joined by co-hosts Berta and Ponch. So you can check them out at their respective channels at BertaMan and Ponch_YYC on Twitch. You can check me out as SomeLazyGuy09. But welcome back to the Fan Connection podcast. We're happy to have you. I'm back home recording from my usual location, i.e. the basement dwelling. I don't know why I said it like that, but anyway, doesn't matter. We have a good amount to cover today. We're going to look over some of the playoff teams, or the wild card fringe playoff teams, and see who has the best chance of making the playoffs. How's it going, Nick? Welcome to the podcast. We're happy to have you. But we're going to take a look at the teams that are fringe in the wild card race, especially in the West, because I mean the East in the NHL right now is pretty much defined. We'll still look at
it's been like defined for the last 2 months. You know, like it's the funniest thing.
We'll still look at the two teams in like numbers 3 and 4 just to see if maybe they go on some crazy run. Like, would it even be feasible in a perfect world, right? We'll take a quick glance at them, but we're gonna spend a lot of time on the Western Conference today. The Western Conference is super interesting right now. A lot of drama, a lot of stuff going on. But before we get into anything, I think it's important that we quickly say our condolences to Eugene Melnyk, his family, his friends, the Ottawa Senators organization, and the greater Ottawa community. There's a lot that's been said about his ownership over the years and how he runs the team in terms of the spending. But at the end of the day, Eugene Melnyk saved the Ottawa Senators from relocation, I think back in 2003 when he bought the team. And he had a vision of bringing greatness to Ottawa. They came really close to Stanley Cup Finals a few years ago when Erik Karlsson was still around. And he had a vision there. And so kind of out of nowhere, too. He's only 62 years old, passes away from... They haven't really reported the illness as far as I know yet. But we do want to say our condolences. And, and it's been really nice to see. I saw on Twitter a lot of positive, responses, a lot of nice messages to him and the organization and his family. So it was just really nice to see. And so we just want to give a quick condolences to him and just say how much we appreciate how much he's done for the Ottawa Senators and the Ottawa community, because he's really helped grow the game of hockey there. He also has, I think he owns a bar really far away. I know this is kind of random, but he basically, what he would do is he'd televise the Ottawa Senators games in that bar exclusively. It's like another country, it's like in the Caribbean, I think, but it's kind of cool because he'd bring the game of hockey and the Ottawa Senators there too. So he's trying to grow the community, and he's done a lot more than in the Ottawa community as well. So we just wanted to quickly just say our condolences and say that he'll be missed. So we want to give our condolences to him and his family. I hope I didn't ramble on. I'm a little nervous, but yeah. It's hard to move on from that, but we're going to move on quickly here to the news from Kevin Weekes. I love Kevin Weekes, man. I loved him ever since he was on the NHL Network. I used to watch it all the time as a kid before going to school. I'd almost miss the bus because I was just so into the highlights and stuff. But anyway, Kevin Weekes is on there. I've loved him ever since. Great personalities, reporting from behind a plant. So I don't know what
this guy's doing, man.
He's in Florida, right? He's in Florida for the NHL GM meetings, I'm pretty sure. And basically, he's standing behind a hanging potted plant. And he's holding his phone up. He's wearing a mask and just reporting like a 10-second clip of him saying Alex Goligoski and the Minnesota Wild are close to a 2-year extension. It's so random. It's so amazing. He was known for reporting from random locations, like a closet at one point, like just random spots around hotels and areas that he just happens to be in during the day, just to report hockey news during the trade deadline. So that was kind of funny to see. So Kevin Weekes keeping it fresh as always. I love Kevin Weekes, and Goligoski's close to an extension, so good for him and good for the Wild. He's been good for them. Yeah, let's get right into the playoff wildcards. This is the most important subject for today, and I just want to kind of get some of the news out of the way in terms of the Goligoski extension, and I also wanted to, start with Melnyk because I felt like that'd be, more appropriate. So yeah, let's jump in to the wildcard discussion. Let's start with the East because it'll be much quicker, and then we can spend a ton of time on the West and just have a lot of fun with it. So obviously Boston and Washington are the number 1 and 2 wildcard positions. Boston has 87 points already. They've played 65 games. They already have 87 points, and somehow that's a wild card. To give you an idea, if they were in the West, they'd be second in the Central and 1 point behind Calgary for first in the Pacific. So they'd be second in either division in the West, but because they're in the Atlantic Division and in the East, they're in the first wild card. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the imbalance right now in the Eastern Conference. And Washington, they've played a lot more games, but they have 84 points in 68 games. So we won't really look at them too much. They could drop off, sure, but the teams we want to focus on quickly are Columbus and the New York Islanders. Columbus in 66 games has a record of 32, 29, and 5 or 69 points. That puts them, I believe, 15 points back of the Washington Capitals with 2 games in hand. So even if Columbus were to win their next 2 games, right, they'd be 11 points back with, 14 games left. So
yeah,
it's tough. It's gonna be
sorry,
tough.
Columbus.
Yeah. Even the Islanders.
Yeah.
Like the simplest way to put it is they got to win 10 games, and Washington has to lose 10 games. So it's just it's been, the standings have stayed the same for the last 2 months. They've just interchanged like the top 8 teams or whatever in any way, like the wild cards to the divisions. It's maybe changed a little bit, but honestly, it's like the same 8 teams through like the last 2 months. The Islanders was the only sneaky one, just because, like how you mentioned before, we were earlier on in our podcast episodes, we were talking about how, or you specifically were saying like how little games they played, right? I know it's just like they obviously could have just went on a run, and to be fair, they have been 500, right? That's not bad. It's just in the East, these teams are just so much better, right? Like the standard for getting the playoffs is much higher, right? Like a lot of these teams are much above 500. The winning percentages are all in the 600s to 700s, and it's not like that in the West, right? In the West, you got like 500s in the playoffs, right? So it's not the same.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just read through the chat. So many people are making comments about Kevin Weekes. So Spyro from Naruto says camera flying down with him as he gives the report while skydiving. And then Nick says, imagine he's doing it on the toilet. So he's just reporting a trade from the toilet, taking a shit. That'd be really funny. But anyway,
there's no limits to Kevin Weekes' creativity. You know,
he can take it anywhere he wants, man. Honestly,
you know what he's doing? He's showing the moment. He's like, you know what? I love hockey so much. I'm going to record this no matter what I'm doing, and that's what he's doing. So maybe one day, you're right. He might be in the toilet. He might be
anywhere.
He might be at a movie. You know, he could be at like a premiere of a movie. And
yeah, you could be watching the Multiverse of Madness, breaking down the madness that are NHL trades, right?
And they're gonna be thinking like, oh, this guy's recording the movie, get this guy out of here. But nope, he's gonna be recording. JT Miller has signed with the Colorado Avalanche 8x8. It's gonna happen.
Honestly, if there's anyone who could make it work though, as like personalities in the NHL and on NHL TV, I think Kevin Weekes would be the one person who could pull that off. Like reporting from the toilet. Like I think he could be one of the people. He'd be the only person, in my opinion, that could pull it off. You know what I mean? He's just so lovable.
My favorite are I love how they have like Paul Bissonnette on TNT, and he's still chiclets Paul Bissonnette. Like the personality's the same. He's just not cursing as much. And if you follow me on Instagram, every other story is like, it's a Paul Bissonnette just doing something.
Right. He's interesting. He's been on TNT a lot, eh? Remember he did the dance on TNT? That was kind of funny.
Oh, he's one of the commentators.
Right, because they have him, they have Gretzky and a few others, right?
Pocket, and I think Weekes is on. Oh, I don't know if it's Weekes or somebody else, but I think that's a good, like,
not as good as us three.
Yeah. True. It could be us three in the future. I feel like Paul Bissonnette gets a little
bunch. Like just think of it though, like Gretzky and then Paul Bissonnette. It's just such a random crew. I love it though. I love that.
Yeah. Should we answer Nick's question quickly before we move on?
Let's answer the next question.
So Nick was asking, who would you think the Leafs want to verse in the first round? Florida, Tampa, or the Bruins? It's hard. I don't know. I think they would actually probably want to play the Bruins out of those teams, just because they probably want to beat them after all that's happened. And this is me undercutting the Bruins because I know how good they are, but they probably look at Tampa. They've won 2 cups in a row. They look at Florida. They just added Giroux. they're probably like, okay, like the last team here is the Bruins. I guess we'll take them, right? Like they are. But that being said, they're also very well put together, and I think it'd be an extremely hard series for them to win. And I don't think they'd even win it necessarily. So tough luck for Toronto.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Who do you think that Toronto's best suited to face in the first round?
Somebody asked if it was Carolina. If Carolina was in the... No, they can't. So, who is it? Lucky... No, Carolina and the Leafs couldn't match up until...
I think it would be round...
Until the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, round 3.
No, that's not necessarily true. If the Leafs finish in the first wild card, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would face... if Leafs finish in the second wild card, they would face Carolina right now. But based on points percentage, if they finish in the first wild card, they would face Carolina. So like based on points, because Carolina's played more games than Florida, but right now Florida's on pace to beat Carolina in terms of points, just based on their points percentage and games played.
Mm-hmm.
So if Toronto were to finish in the first wild card, which they could, because they're literally tied to the exact number with Boston, except for regulation wins. So that's the tiebreaker. Toronto has the tiebreaker there.
Okay.
So if Boston just leapfrogs Toronto, they have the same amount of games left. If Boston wins one more game than Toronto, and Toronto falls to the first wild card, and Florida and Carolina keep the exact same pace, they'd play Carolina in the first round. And I think that's the best matchup for Toronto.
Can we just see Columbus leapfrogging Toronto? Can that be a possibility?
No, it's not.
Not with it.
That would be that would be the holy collapse. I am going to talk about a holy collapse later on.
Yeah.
I'll save it for later, but it's not Toronto. I'm not believing they're
it's
going to
Vegas.
follow.
Vegas is the mega collapse right now.
I'm not going to spoil.
So it's Vegas. Okay.
So I think you'd want to take Boston because I feel like the Leafs' first two lines can match up with Boston. Like their first line will match up really well, but as soon as you start falling down the depth chart, so you roll your second and your third line, I think that's the problem with Boston is their top two lines are really good. Swayman's been insane. I would take Boston because they're two lines heavy, even though all their lines play really well.
Right.
I just think once you start falling down the depth chart, it's when you have to roll out your third and fourths. And I think Toronto's third and fourth are just a little bit better than Boston's third and fourth.
Yeah. I think they could. I honestly think like they'd make it a good series. I think that Florida, Tampa are too much for them to handle. Even Carolina, I know how much they can chop it up. So I think that'd be a very tough matchup for them. I think if they were to win a round, it'll be against Boston. But it's like you even said it, Mike. All of their stats are the exact same. It's just the regulation wins is just different. That's the only thing. And Ponch, even like you're saying, like their depth can definitely push them over the edge. It's gonna be close, right? And also just the mental factor of like who you're playing. It's like they're like the boogie monster to them, right? The boogeyman, the boogie monster, the boogeyman to Toronto. It's a new nickname, the Boogie Monster, Boston Bruins.
But yeah, like I think if you're Toronto, this like. Obviously, as a fan, like I'm not necessarily a fan of Toronto. I'm just a hockey fan in general, and a Habs fan, obviously. But trying to look at it objectively, I think the mentality for Toronto can't be who do we want to face. Like they shouldn't be thinking about picking and choosing their opponents. They should just be thinking, let's have the best end of the season possible. Let's try to win every game to end this season because they just lost a bad game to Montreal. And then they beat the Florida Panthers the next day on the back-to-back. So they lose to Montreal on Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, right? And I mean, let's be honest, they completely outplayed Montreal, but Montreal found a way to win despite being outshot by 33 shots. And then they go on the next day and they beat Florida. So they clearly show that they can play against contending teams. They have a record of like 17-9-5, I think it was, courtesy of the SDPN for Toronto against playoff teams. So Toronto's pretty good when they match up against playoff teams in the regular season. The problem is when it comes to the playoff time, their style of play hasn't necessarily lent them to be able to keep up in a long-term series. Because Ben Sherratt put it very well. After Ben Sherratt and the Toronto Maple Leafs Ben Sherratt and the Montreal Canadiens, my bad, beat the Toronto Maple Leafs last year in 7. He said their strategy was to wear them down. So yeah, maybe we'll lose a few games early on in the series, which they did. They went down 3-1. But their mentality was to hit them so hard and like just bother them and be a pain in the ass to the point where Toronto by game 7 is worn out and can't contend. And guess what happened? Game 7 was Toronto's worst game of the series. Their goalie had a bad game. Jack Campbell had a bad game 7. Arguably everybody on the Toronto Maple Leafs had a terrible game 7 against Montreal because they are mentally and physically worn out by the Canadiens who just kept hitting and cross-checking and hitting and cross-checking. The Toronto Maple Leafs, until they learn to put their foot down and say we're going to stand up for ourselves and play a hard-hitting game as well and lay hits down as well, I think Matthews has improved that. Simmons will bring a good factor there, although he was there last year. I think playing Kyle Clifford will be helpful. Mikheyev and Engvall have taken steps forward, but I find with those players, a lot of them, once the game gets physical, once the game gets hard-hitting, yeah, they can check and they can board battle, but once the game gets really like hard-hitting, that's when a lot of the players seem to check out in Toronto. So I think adding the likes of Giordano will definitely help them. Keep a level head. Same with Lyubushkin because he'll be able to hit hard as well. So I think Toronto, if they can use their leadership they acquired through Giordano to keep a level head and to keep focus, I think they can win the series. You know, obviously John Tavares going down was another like detriment, right? That's a big time player going down, but they still won 3 games without him. They theoretically went 3-3 without John Tavares. So that's not the issue. That clearly wasn't the problem. I think they just need to work on their game. I think this year will be different, although they say that every year. I know they're in a really tough division, but I think no matter who they're against, they're going to put up a good fight. If they don't, I'll be disappointed and I'll say, okay, trade the core, you're done. But this is the year, man. This is the year you got to prove that you're finally able to take that step and really dig into the corners and really dig into the battles. Because like I said, Ben Sherratt, all he said was after being Toronto, I was like, yeah, they're a great team. They made us work really hard and we played them close, but we just had to wear them down. They weren't going to beat us. We knew if it went to 7, we'd win. That's what Ben Sherratt essentially said. So Toronto just needs to find it in them to keep the mental fortitude throughout an entire 7-game series, and they should be able to beat anyone because they're a very good team. Yeah, I'm done with my rant, guys. I'm sorry, I kind of just went off there, but
no,
yeah,
you're good.
So one of the things I was told when Tampa lost against Columbus is it's because they were all offense, but didn't have like the grit that you needed. So that's why they looked for Barclay Goodrow. They looked for Patty Maroon, which ended up taking them over the top. It also helped that they had a 4-month break, but that's when your Revos, your like Evander Kanes, your the players that don't quite drive play, but you know, your Wendell Clarks and whatnot. You know, you really need those gritty players because you don't get the same calls you do during the regular season. And small players like that, or small plays like that, they end up changing the momentum.
Right. Like you look at the remember, this is such a famous thing that people show, like it's a famous clip that people show from the Montreal Canadiens series. Remember when Ben Sherratt was grabbing Matthews and throwing him around like a rag doll, and all you saw was Matthews smiling the whole time? Remember all the Leafs fans like, oh yeah, Matthews, you show him Matthews, don't let him get in your head. I think that showed that Ben Sherratt or that Matthews was not going to put up a fight. Like that's all that showed to me. All that showed to me was Matthews is an open book, open target. Do whatever you want to him. He's not going to do anything, right? And by the end of the series, he's getting beat up. And like Matthews is still a great player, and he was still scary on the ice. Don't get me wrong, but he looked worn out by the end of the series. You could tell. Like by game 7, he couldn't do it anymore. Like all the Canadiens had to do was like triple team Matthews, let Marner hold on the puck for 30 years and mess it up, and then it was game over, right? So I think if Matthews, especially this year, I know I don't condone crossing someone to the head like he did to Dahlin, but Matthews this year has shown he's not going to take that shit anymore. He's not going to just smile and let the refs miss the calls as always in the playoffs. He's going to cross-check. He's going to fight back. He's not going to let you get away with shit against him anymore, which is really good. I think a lot of the Maple Leafs players should follow suit in that sense. And yeah, we'll see how it takes them in the playoffs. I mean, we can speculate all we want. Until the playoffs start, we're not going to know what Leafs team's going to step on the ice. If the Leafs team that wants to win and is hungry for a win steps on the ice, then they could beat anybody. If the Leafs team that we saw last year against the Habs, or the year before against the Bruins, or no, the year before against the Blue Jackets, or the year before against the Bruins, they don't have a chance.
Yeah. And like, so if anybody's seen the 30-by-30 with the Detroit Pistons and Michael Jordan, I kind of see the same thing happening here, where what Detroit would do was they'd hit Michael because all the offense was driven through Michael Jordan. So every drive he's getting hit. He's getting fouled. He's getting what Rodman used to do is he used to pinch Michael Jordan's butt every time on defense. And it's not a foul, it's just kind of weird.
Very weird.
But essentially when the focus wasn't on playing, it was Detroit's focus, or they tried to get Michael to focus on, am I going to get hit? They tried to get in his kitchen, and they did for a couple years. But hopefully we see Matthews kind of, just like Michael, get over that hump.
So you're saying Matthews is Michael Jordan?
Yeah. Well, like kind of in that same...
I'm sorry. I was being a butt. Go ahead.
Kind of in that same like progression though, is as soon as like even Steve Yzerman had problems where, not problems, but Steve Yzerman wasn't known for his two-way game. He was a good captain, good leader, but when was it Bowman? Am I silly? But when I can't remember who the coach was, but when he got into a new system, that's when he started rings. It's when he started playing both ways. And we're slowly starting to see that progression.
Yeah, his two-way game has definitely got better this year. It's being praised a lot. And not to the point where he's going to get Selke votes or anything, but it has been a lot better this year. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like we can talk all we want. It's just, honestly, next week we might have a different opinion, right? Like you could see... Yeah. By next week, maybe we'll see Boston on like a 10-game win streak. Like they're 8-1-1 in their last 10.
Yeah, they've been amazing.
Yeah, and who knows, right? Like it's gonna change every week, and I'm just excited to see what happens in the playoffs at the end of the day. And we can do
Also, Austin Matthews is 2 years older than me, 2 years older than Mike, and 1 year older than Berta. So, like he's young.
He's only 24. I always forget that. He's only 24. Yeah, he'll get there. He'll get there. He's not that much older than us, so he has about the same mental maturity as us, I'm sure. Maybe more, probably more mature considering he's making a lot of money, but you never know. You never know.
But I cut off Berta. What were you saying?
I actually don't even remember. Honestly, it's all good. I was just now reading the chat where Lucky Looney Sports was saying whatever Berta hot take, Matthew gets one Selke vote. And I think that he'll probably get some votes. Like you know how there's like always a list of like whoever gets votes. I'm sure you'll get some votes of something, or maybe not first votes, but like you'll get in that discussion, in that list somehow. But yeah, not yet. Not yet. He's not top 3 yet.
I don't see how a non-penalty killer gets a single vote though. You know what I mean? I
get it, but also like if your penalty kill is like how good is isn't their penalty kill pretty good anyway as it is?
I'm pretty sure it's solid. They had the most shorthanded goals this year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so like that's the thing. It just depends on the system they play. Like if they're already good without him on the penalty kill, then it's like what's the point? That's the way I see it.
Yes.
So their PK's 5th in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're very good.
They don't need Matthews on there because they already have Marner on there. Honestly, you could argue Marner for a Selke at this rate because his defensive numbers are very good too. He's got a really good eye to pick off passes, and he plays the penalty kill. The only reason why he's not there is because he's not a center. That's the only reason why it's on the list.
Well, I don't think so. Like Stone won it, didn't he?
I don't know if he won. Did he win?
I think he won last year, or he was definitely nominated.
I think,
but
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but that's because he was like he had a crazy season though when he won it. Like he had a monster season.
Yeah. But the thing is, you can't have Matthews on your first line, your power play.
Yeah.
Or playing first line and power play. You also don't want him on your PK because you're gonna burn him out.
He already plays so many minutes. Well, I think Matthews does play more minutes than Marner though, doesn't he?
Yeah, because I think they put Matthews. They double shift him sometimes.
Yeah. It's just whatever works for the team, I guess, right? So like that's
no, of course.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that that's why I wouldn't consider him for a Selke, is just because penalty killing is such a big part of the defensive aspect of hockey. And yes, they have a very good penalty kill without him. So even if you added him to the penalty kill, like that wouldn't help his cause because they're already good without him. I'm just saying like he's not necessarily a great Selke nominee for me because he doesn't kill penalties. That's all I'm saying.
That's honestly, that's fair. Like I don't, like I said, like I don't think he's gonna be nominated for Selke. Like at least not this year. We'll see what happens in the future. Maybe he becomes a penalty killer. But yeah, that's a fair assessment.
So Mark Stone has never won a Selke.
Was he nominated? I know he was nominated.
He was definitely nominated.
Probably nominated.
I think he was top 3 1 year.
He's never won.
It was probably O'Reilly or Kopitar or Bergeron. One of those. It's always one of those 3. I don't know why. Yeah.
Let me see.
Bergeron has the 4th most wins. So just gonna rattle some off. It was Barkov, Couturier, O'Reilly, Kopitar, Bergeron, Kopitar, Bergeron, Taves, Bergeron, Kessler, Datsuk, Brindamore.
Yeah, so Stone was a finalist last year with Bergeron and Barkov, and I guess Bergeron won it last year?
Barkov won it last year.
Okay. Finally, he finally got one. He deserved one for so long. He's a good player. But do you guys want to move on to the Western Conference? The Western Conference, the wild card race here. So, I'm thinking we start with the lowest team. I think that makes the most sense. So look at the lowest team in a wild card position that could still make it. I'm sorry, San Jose, I'm not counting you in because
start with Canucks
reasons. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys want to look at San Jose for fun or no?
No.
Let's do it.
No,
just for Ponch. Come on.
Okay, fine.
Hold up.
Ponch, take it away. Why will the San Jose Sharks miss the playoffs?
I think, well, it's because we're injured right now.
True.
Logan Couture, Aiden Hill, Kevin LeBanc, Mario Ferraro. That's our big 4 right there, and we haven't been playing healthy all year. I think, like I said, I think they could steal a spot into the playoffs. I don't think, but it'd have to be like, when you've got like a 17 leg parlay, this has got to hit, this has got to hit, this has got to hit. I think that needs to happen. But I also think, will the Oilers lose more games? Yes, because they're the Oilers. Can the Sharks beat the Coyotes? Yes. We play a lot of the Pacific Division teams here, the Western Conference teams. So looking at next month, can San Jose Sharks at least go into overtime with Dallas, Edmonton, Calgary, Canucks, Chicago, and some of these other teams? I think so. But then that would also mean, because we're all in the same spot, I could also see how we win a couple. We could win a couple. Winnipeg could lose a couple. Dallas could lose a couple. Vancouver could lose a couple. And just Edmonton, even Edmonton, who's in a playoff spot now. Imagine them losing Hopkins, McDavid, or Draisaitl at some point just because of injury. Or even Vegas. Vegas can't activate Mark Stone right now because they're over the LTIR. Or they're over the cap. which means Mark Stone has to stay on LTIR for now. And Leonard's not in the fray either. So if Couture, LeBanc, Hill came back, I could definitely see us like being on the fringe
to push for a spot.
But I don't really see myself like I don't want us to make the playoffs because I embrace the tank. But
right.
I could see not all the teams that we're playing are quality right now, so yeah. Could you see the Sharks?
And just to give everyone an idea of the Sharks situation right now, just to visualize it, they have 66 points in 65 games. So they're literally just above a point per game in terms of their standings, which is not great. But they do have games in hand. So obviously Dallas is only at 64 games, but other than Dallas, no one else near where they are has played less games than them. They have 2 games in hand or more over everybody except for Dallas right now. Obviously Seattle I'm not even counting because they're so far out, and same with Arizona. But the San Jose Sharks, for example, just give you just a little mind games for fun, right? Let's say they win 4 in a row. Let's just say they win 4 in a row to get up to, or 4 out of 5. So when they're at 70 games played, they have 4 more wins, 1 more loss. And let's just say it's in regulation, just to be fair. So they'd have 33 wins and 29 losses. So that'd be a good number of points right there. So that they gained 4 wins. That's 84 points on 74 points in 70 games. So that's already an improvement. That would have them leapfrog a few teams right now. So if all the other teams lose like their next game or 2 and they win their next 4 out of 5, boom, they're right in the race with everybody else. Right? Now the problem is not everyone's going to lose their next game. And then you look ahead at their schedule, and there's no guarantee they win the 4 of the next 5. So if you look ahead at their schedule, Arizona, in the past, I would have said, yeah, easy win. Right now, no, not an easy win. They've been torching people for no reason. And then Colorado, good luck next time.
That's a tough one.
Good luck next time. Don't even bother. Waste of a few hours. Just kidding. You can watch some good prospects, but it's probably not going to be a W there. And then Dallas, who's been really good. And then Edmonton, who's bounced back a bit, but I'd say still has an edge over San Jose. And then Calgary. And then Vancouver's been on a bit of a tear. Nashville's good. Chicago, Chicago can't really hold a lead right now. So that's a win you could probably pencil in. And then Dallas again, Minnesota, Columbus, St. Louis, Chicago again, you can maybe pencil in a win there. Vegas could maybe pencil in a win there. Anaheim, okay, that's 5 wins there. And then Seattle and Edmonton to end the season. So there's maybe 6 wins I could really see happening. The rest would all have to be underdog upsets. That's not great.
I think San Jose has the chance to upset.
Are you sure though?
No.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I disagree right now. I'm sorry.
A 2-3 loss to Florida. All right.
Think about it, Flash. They're gonna need, like, if your baseline is 95 points or whatever it is, that's 29 points they need to grab in this last 17 games.
Well, let's just say 30 points to make it easier. They'd have to win 15 more games. Yeah. So they'd have to go 15 for 17. They'd have to go 15 for 17. So
but like the thing is like I think that well, if you're done with the Sharks, I was gonna go on with what I was gonna say. I don't know if 95 points is going to be the baseline this year.
Maybe 92.
The thing is all these teams in contention, all these teams in the wildcard spot in the final, like Pacific, Central, they're all playing each other. So it's not gonna. I don't think it's even gonna come down to that. I'm gonna just quickly run down who I think is gonna make it and who's not gonna make it, because I think if we spend time on each team, it might just take a very long time. Yeah. So here's what I think is going to happen, all right? So after looking at Minnesota, I've been monitoring them since the new year. St. Louis as well. Like, honestly, all these teams, just because I'm a Canucks fan and I just want to see how things are going, right? Minnesota is on a tear right now, but they have a really hard schedule coming up in these last few games or so. But that being said, I think they only need to win like 5 or 6 more games to secure a spot. Like, they're basically in. Same thing with St. Louis. Dallas, just because they have so many games in hand, they also have a hard schedule, but I think they're gonna just make it in because they're only 1 point back of a wild card spot right now. And so I think the final standings for the wild card spot, it's going to be Nashville or St. Louis in that first spot, Dallas in the second spot, and then you have Minnesota, Colorado in the Central, right? And it's just going to be that. It's the 5 teams from the Central are going to make it. And the Pacific, though, so I know Mike was saying that the holy collapse was Vegas, and I also agree. I think that they're going to miss, but watch out for this one. LA is going to miss the playoffs, guys. I said it a little bit before, but their schedule is tough, man. It is very hard, and like I said, they are missing players as well. So what I think is going to happen, I think Edmonton's going to move up to the second spot. Calgary will stay in the first spot. Vancouver will make the third spot. The reason why I say this is because Vancouver plays Vegas 3 times. They play them 3 times. And honestly, under normal circumstances, I'd say they miss the playoffs because it's too hard of a bar to climb. But they play Vegas 3 times, Dallas twice, San Jose, Arizona twice, Seattle, and who else do we play? But I don't think we're going to win every single one of these games. But even if they split these games, or even if they beat Vegas 2 out of 3 times, that puts them so much more ahead, right? Like, it's just going to be... It is going to be close to the very end, but I'm going to pick the Canucks just because even the last games that we've been losing, they've been playing really good. We lost to St. Louis last night to absolute bullshit. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was like Scandella shot the puck and it like bounced up all the way up in the air and like over Halak's head and went in the net, and that was like the 1-0 goal. Tarasenko shot the puck so incredibly wide, but it happened to hit Halak's stick and bounced back to Tarasenko and went in.
Yeah.
And like that was the other goal, and it's just like a bunch of stuff like that that's been happening recently, and it's just like, you know what? It's fine. I know they're running out of track here, but they keep playing their game. Demko keeps playing good. I think they're gonna make it, man. The only team I can see that would not make it, that would make it over Vancouver, is if somehow Winnipeg, which Winnipeg is very good, makes it through the Central somehow. I think that's the only other team that just makes it in the playoffs. But I honestly think it's gonna be Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and then Colorado, Minnesota, St. Louis, Nashville, and Dallas. Those are my 8 teams.
Yeah, I struggle a little bit with some of your predictions here. I don't see LA falling out of the playoffs. I know they have a lot of injuries right now, but I really like their forward core. I know they don't really have a strong... Yes, but no, they don't really have like a strong, defined first line, right? They use Kopitar with Kempe and Iafallo, I think, is their first line. And their second line is Dano with Arvidsson and Trevor Moore. Then they have Quinton Byfield somewhere down there, and then the rest of their forwards mix in. And I like their depth on offense. I like Kaliev down there. I like Kupari. He's come back, I think, from injury. So they got a good mix of youth and old, like youth and veterans on their team. To make a really good core. And I find they're able to run all 3 or 4 lines on any given night. So let's say the 4th line's having a rough night, they can roll 3 lines. Or if the 3rd line's struggling, they'll roll 3 lines with 1, 2, 4. You know what I mean? Like they're able to roll lines, and that really tires out other teams. They've also been a very good defensive team, obviously because of Dano and Kopitar down the middle. That's a good, really good defensive 1-2 punch. And that allows Byfield to kind of focus on his offense and take those. He's got a really good wrist shot, so He's developing his game slowly but surely, and he's really well sheltered behind those 2 guys. Defense, they've had a lot of injuries, but Oli Matos looked pretty good this season. Drew Doughty has looked amazing, although he's injured right now. They have a few other guys like Sean Walker stepping up, and not Hakanpää, but what's his name? Bjornfot? I think that's his name, Bjornfot. Another prospect there. He stepped up quick, and Peterson have had 2 solid seasons this year as well. As a 1A, 1B tandem. So I like what LA has done. They're 4-4-2 in their last 10, despite all the injuries. Like Doughty's been injured for a while now, because I have in fantasy hockey, so I'm aware of his injuries. So they're 4-4-2. I think they're a capable enough team based on their system and their forward core that's able to roll out solid, consistent lines on any given night. I think they're going to be able to maintain like a 4-4-2, maybe like a 5-5-0 record for the rest of the season, and that would guarantee them a spot because they're already at 81 points.
Well, that's the thing though. Like I was going to agree with you there, but that's my point about the whole 90-something point thing. Just because the teams they're playing, so I can just run it down. So they play Edmonton twice in their division.
They're good against Edmonton though. They match up well.
Don't they have a losing record against them?
Probably, but I think they'd match up pretty well based on how Edmonton's been lately, right?
They've been pretty good.
Although
lately,
they're 7-2-1 their last 10, but I just have a feeling like LA's one of those teams that's gonna ruin it for Edmonton.
They could, right? But like my point being was like they play Edmonton twice, play the Canucks once, they play the Flames twice, they play the Wild, the Avs, the Blackhawks twice, who they lost to both times they played, and they play the Jets. So it's like they have a couple of easy games in Seattle, although they lost to Seattle yesterday, and then they play the Ducks, which they should win, but I don't know. But
the Ducks are still like they're pretty good still. Let's not undermine the Ducks.
Fair, right? And then they also play Columbus. So like that's all of their games for the rest of the season. And you're right, they could get that what record did you say? 3-4-4-2?
4-4-2, 5-5-0, like a 500 record.
But what if the thing is that could work, right? That could honestly be accurate. But if you're having that record against teams you're competing with, it's not good for you. Right? Like it's not like it doesn't work the same way. That's the only reason why I think they're out. I do agree with all your points on how they're well constructed, and I think that they're actually like, especially in the future, they're going to be a team to definitely look out for because their lineup is going to be really good. Like their young guys are playing super well right now, and they're going to be integrated next year even better. And I just think like I'm honestly just looking at it, it's like every single one of these teams are like either playoff teams or fringe playoff teams. It's just going to be hard, but that argument can be made for every other team in the low contention here as well, right? So it can go any way you want to look at it, and I really think it's gonna come down to like the last week of hockey.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like because Nashville, Dallas, hang on. So Dallas, Vegas, Dallas, Nashville, St. Louis, Minnesota, Colorado. Those are all essential teams, right?
Sorry, Dallas, Colorado,
Nashville, St. Louis, Minnesota, Colorado.
Oh yeah.
And then that would leave Vegas, Edmonton, LA, Calgary, Winnipeg, and Vancouver as specific teams, correct? Mm-hmm. Just want to make sure I got that right. Okay. So
not Winnipeg, but Winnipeg would be like
Central?
Yeah, they'd be Central, yeah.
They're Central? Okay.
Yeah.
Because Winnipeg right now is 7-3 in their last 10. So Winnipeg is a team I wanted to look at quickly. Just to look over who they play, because they are 7-3. They've been on a really good streak lately. They've been winning a lot of games. Obviously, 7-3 in the last 10 indicates that, and they've won 2 in a row going into their next game. And looking at their record, they're 19-13-2 on home ice, and 13-12-8 on the road. So they're involved in a lot of close games. They go to overtime/shootouts on the road, but they don't tend to win them. Whereas on home ice, they tend to win a lot more games. So they're more comfortable in their home arena. It could also be some teams don't like traveling through Winnipeg. Who knows? Because I know, especially in the winter, the weather is ridiculous. But
also because it's Winnipeg. Sorry,
okay.
Winnipeg.
I wasn't gonna go that far, but yeah. And their record, I mean, their schedule's not that bad. Like their first game's against Buffalo. Sure, yeah, Buffalo's been a solid team, but I mean, Winnipeg should win that matchup. Toronto is going to be a tough matchup, especially on the after of a back-to-back. So let's just pencil it in as a loss. Although Winnipeg is known for trolling Toronto as well. And then they have LA, Detroit. Detroit's been a free win lately for everybody. Colorado, which is probably going to be a loss. But then there's Ottawa, Montreal, Seattle. Then they have to face the 2 Florida teams, which is scary. But that's only 2 losses right there. New York Rangers, Carolina, Colorado. Like that's a tough little streak of 5 games. But then they end off with Philly and Calgary. Like, I know Calgary's a tough matchup too, but they got Philly in there. They have Montreal, Ottawa. They have Detroit. They have Seattle. And they can take a few games here and there against good teams because they have really good talent when they choose to play, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I throw in Buffalo too. Like, Winnipeg could go on a run here, guys. Like, I look at their recent games too. I just realized I didn't really show you, but I didn't tell you. But their recent games that they've been winning, they beat Arizona in overtime. But I mean, Arizona's been a tough matchup for everyone recently. They beat Winnipeg. They beat Columbus. Who's been a good team. They lose to Ottawa, funny enough. But they beat Vegas. They beat Chicago. They lost to Boston 4-2. They beat Vegas. They beat St. Louis. They beat the Devils. They beat Tampa Bay 7-4. They're capable of beating good teams. They really are. And they lose the weird ones sometimes. They're a very weird team in Winnipeg, but they've been on a good streak, guys.
Yeah.
I think if anybody's going to fall out of the playoffs, it's going to be the Oilers. And it's because they're bad. But I'm just going to read off their last 10 wins. So they won against Tampa. That's cool. Detroit, Buffalo, New Jersey, lost against Colorado, lost against Dallas, won against San Jose, lost against Calgary, and won against Arizona. But then if you look farther down their schedule, they've got LA's.
Yeah.
They've got their schedules on the back end is ridiculously hard.
Which team?
Edmonton.
Yeah.
Because they've got LA. Oh, sorry. Here, I'll just read off who's ever in the playoffs right now or still in the hunt. They've got Colorado. They've got Vegas. They've got Nashville. They've got St. Louis. And then you've even got these competing teams, Vancouver, I guess Columbus. Columbus is still very, very good. And you even have San Jose and Minnesota. So you, like, Edmonton's had a lucky, or like a good stretch, and they've won against mostly, like, basement teams. I'm sorry. Except for Buffalo. They're supposed to win the cup this year.
No, I agree. They don't play well against well-structured teams that are able to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl. It's just a fact.
Yeah, and then you're rocking with Smith and Koskinen. Koskinen, like, and Smith couldn't put away. Like, they had 9 goals in between them against Calgary, no big deal. Like, what are you doing? And, like, I know Calgary's the best in the Pacific, but there's other teams that haven't given up 9 goals to Calgary. But yeah, like, what are you going to do when you play against Colorado? Even Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a very good team.
Pittsburgh's been scary lately. They've been killing. Yeah. They've been killing teams, man. They've been destroying teams.
And their defense is actually ranked insanely high. Like, older categories is, like, very, very good. Pittsburgh's.
Yeah, they're a very well-structured team. Mike Sullivan, as I always say every podcast, is a very good coach, guys. He's a very good coach.
But then the problem is when you're still, like, locking up 2, there are these. So Vancouver could steal the spot. San Jose might not steal, like, get into the playoffs, but they can steal your points.
Yeah, they can definitely be they can be the upset. Exactly. They could ruin other teams' chances.
Exactly. So that's the thing you've got to worry about right now. And you can only ride McDavid and Draisaitl so far. You have no depth and you have no goaltending. And as somebody on Twitter put it, you're paying Nurse $9 million for the next, like, 7 years. And it makes the Erik Karlsson signing look very, very good right now.
I will never understand that signing. I'm sorry.
Guys, the goalie market just wasn't there for the past many years? Yeah. Has he said that every year?
Yeah.
He said that how many years in a row was that? 3? That he
That's
said
so
the
cool.
Same thing?
I was saying how this Markstrom was, like, the only real one that was on the market, and they tried to get him, but he picked Calgary, right?
Dude,
yeah. Well, it's because
we've seen so many other goalies move in the league since Ken Holland's been in Edmonton. There's been a lot of goalies moving around. There's no excuse.
No, but like
he could have even gotten freaking Scott Wedgwood
though. I don't. Yeah, but at the same time though, that's still, like, marginally better than just another goalie, right? Like, I guess you could be doing that, right? Like, if you want to at least try different goalies out, you could definitely do that. But in terms of, like, top tier elite goalies, I don't really see a lot. Like, I don't want to defend them, but also, like, I know that's what they want, and they're trying to just. I think what they're looking at is, like, okay, we have Koskinen and Smith. How much better is this guy over Koskinen and Smith? And it's just like, okay, just a bit, and they probably just don't go for it. But at the same time, it's not working for them, so why would you not try?
Any goalie's better than a non-healthy injured goalie, right?
True, that's also true.
This was a world in which Fleury moved for literally nothing.
Yeah.
Fleury was moved from Vegas for nothing as a cap dump. Yo, Edmonton, you're telling me you couldn't free up a bit of you couldn't have, maybe not acquired Duncan Keith and maybe, gotten Marc-Andre Fleury instead? I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Well, I think Kaapo Kähkönen would definitely be a lot better than or it helped their goalie tandem. Vejmelka, yes. Yes,
Scott
he's a friend
Wedgwood,
of
yes,
the pod.
too. Jake Allen
Like,
from Montreal would be amazing. He just literally stonewalled Toronto the other night. And every other team since he's been back from injury. Although I understand why teams didn't buy on him because he was just getting back from injury. But there's a lot of goalies out there on bad teams that would probably be willing to move them for the right price. Ken Holland just doesn't want to do it. He just doesn't want to pay for a goalie. That's all he has to say. Instead of saying there's no market for goaltending. No. There is a market. You just don't want to buy into it. That's your choice.
Well, even you could have tried on Freddie too.
Yeah,
but also like
that could have worked too.
Nobody wants to see the bright lights of like the West Edmonton Mall, and I
mean, I know Edmonton has been known to be a little bit difficult to attract the free agents as well. A lot of Canadian teams honestly have, except for Toronto, because they can literally
and Calgary
just give you $11 million a season. But
because Edmonton only has a mall. Sorry, Edmontonians.
Planch, you were quick. Oh no, Berta permitted that. I was literally making my way to do that, and someone else did it. I was like, "Damn, you guys are quick." But no, I just think that Ken Holland's been way too passive. I think I did give him one compliment on one of his trades recently because I don't want to be a total dick. Like the guy is still a smart man. He won a few cups in Detroit. He didn't do that for no reason. I just think he needs to freshen up a bit. Get a bit creative, get a little bit more, happy about his job. I don't know.
Yeah,
he just seems very bored.
You need to get Connor McDavid into the playoffs because he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Like Connor McDavid has 24 playoff points, and Marc-Edouard Vlasic has 39. So, like, let's
that's sad. That's sad.
That's really sad. I think I'd trade Marc-Edouard Vlasic for Connor McDavid if the Oilers are smart.
Yeah, if they really want to tank again, I think that'd be a really good idea.
Did I send you guys the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins thing? I actually, never mind. I don't think I did. I'm gonna go find it right now. You guys continue talking.
Okay. But yeah, no, I just think that I think Ken Holland, if you just decide to get a bit more creative with his moves, there is maybe not a rumor, but it's been said that there's certain GMs that just refuse to talk to other GMs. So like there's certain GMs that only call 6 teams. So if you've ever noticed, there's certain GMs that will make a lot of deals with the same team over and over again. It's because they only really call a few teams. There's a lot of GMs out there who say, oh yeah, the market for goaltending wasn't there. Meanwhile, the team next over is trading a goalie for literally nothing. Well, guess what? The market was there. It just wasn't in his select market of maybe 4 executives that he still talks to. Yeah. It's ridiculous. They just pick up the phone and call them, man. Like, well, how much could you really hate someone to just refuse to make a trade call? It's ridiculous. It's such a weird job. Like the bizarrest people are in charge of teams, man. I swear. Like listening to Kent Hughes is like a drop of sunshine. Like it's crazy. Like he's the way he talks. Same with I really like the Vancouver GM too. And Kyle Davidson in Chicago. I find the way they talk is so much more refreshing than listening to Ken Holland or Bergevin.
They seem super professional. That's like one thing I'll say.
Yes.
They seem like actual professional people.
It's almost like they were the right people for the job. It's crazy. Oh my god. It's weird.
Can I read you guys a tweet by Jay Fresh? Okay. Yes. So over the weekend, he was talking about strange stats that he stumbled upon. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has played 63% of his 5-on-5 minutes since 2020 to 2021 with McDavid and or Draisaitl. His 1.37 5-on-5 points per 60 in that time ranks 239th among 481 players with 1,000 plus ice time minutes, less than Mason Appleton and Johan Larsson. His minutes without McDavid and Dry at 5-on-5 is 1.33 per 60, which puts him at 248th, which is tied with Blake Lizotte and Nick Cousins. His only minutes with McDavid and Dry at 5-on-5 would put him basically around the rank of like Mason Appleton and Yarkov Trenin. So
wow. So he's basically ineffective at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Offensively.
Isn't that crazy? Like those names I just mentioned, I actually cannot even tell you what team Yakov Trenin's on.
Nashville.
And is it Nashville? Yeah. Okay.
He's actually good. I like him.
Is he good?
He's really good.
So but he's
some respect on Yakov Trenin.
He's more of a two-way guy though. He's not meant to be an offensive juggernaut. Whereas Nugent Hopkins is a former first overall pick who's meant to have a good offensive game.
And he's getting paid like a decent amount too, as if he's like
$6 million.
Yeah, and like I guess power play is obviously like a big part of Edmonton's game, but you would expect that he would not be in the 200s for 5-on-5 points, like what, like with and without McDavid. So and Draisaitl, of course. That's horrible. That is so bad.
Not good.
Yo,
yeah.
You guys want to do a fun what if today? Like, just why not?
You can say the one you're thinking of. I can't think of one right now, but go for it.
What if we looked at what if the Edmonton Oilers actually got screwed by winning a bunch of draft lotteries?
I think that the only one that I mean, like, I won't agree with is McDavid, but other than that, yeah, maybe.
Because do you guys want to look back at their drafts in which they selected first overall?
Let's just keep flaming.
No, but do you want to see maybe like you have to take the best player available, right?
Yeah.
But let's say Edmonton had missed out on the first overall pick and fell to 4th.
What was the first one that they actually got? Like, was it Nugent Hopkins, like the very first one?
I thought Taylor Hall was the first one.
Or Taylor Hall, yeah. What 2009, right?
I'm not sure. Why don't we? Let
me check for you guys.
Yeah.
That was not 2009.
So let's just rattle them off though, because it would have been Nuge, Hall,
Yakupov.
Yaks, Draisaitl, because I think he was 3rd, and I think.
Okay, so it starts.
There's a really funny one. I can't remember.
That wasn't Yakupov. Puljujärvi.
No, it might have been Puljujärvi, but it was. Who was with like Griffin Reinhart? He was supposed to be really good, and then somebody else. It was like the weirdest top 3 I've ever seen. It was like Yakupov, Reinhart, and somebody else. Chad, if you know, let me know.
I'm not sure. But if we're going to start from 2010, that's when they picked Taylor Hall first overall. Second went Sagan to Boston. So that was a Taylor versus Tyler argument. And then there was Goodbranson 3rd overall. Ryan Johnson 4th overall. Nino Niederreiter 5th. Brett Connolly 6th. Jeff Skinner 7th. And that's about it. I got you got Mikael Granlund at 9 though. So
yeah. So like, the way I want to look at this is we go by players taken within 5 picks of them, right?
Okay.
Or maybe 6. Right. So looking at the Oilers, right? In the first one in 2010, it went Hall, Sagan, Goodbranson, Johansson, Niederreiter. Those are the only real names we want to look at. There's no defenseman up there that's worth taking other than Goodbranson, and even he. I'd argue wouldn't be a win over Taylor Hall. So let's keep. Yeah. So let's.
Branson isn't better than Jeff Skinner.
Exactly.
I would.
I mean, Jeff Skinner's arguably one of the better players out of his draft year. It's just he's overpaid. It's not
God.
Not because he's bad.
Yo, 2011's gonna kill you.
So Taylor Hall will keep, right? That'll be one of their first overall picks. 2011.
Bruh.
They took Nugent Hopkins. Next up is Landeskog, Huberdeau, Adam Larson, Brian Strome, and Mika Zibanejad. If you take literally any
Hamilton, oh my god,
dude! If you took and Doug Hamilton at 9th, if you take anybody else other than maybe Duncan Siemens and Ryan Murphy and Sven Berchi, like as long as you take within the top 10 of this draft, you didn't miss a single player, right? If you took anybody else than Nugent Hopkins in that top 10, they'd be better off.
Oh, for sure.
So that right there is an example of sometimes the first overall pick is not the best thing for your franchise. Because generally the first overall pick is going to be a center. Just usually how it goes. And they're going to be a center. So if you get Nugent Hopkins, you get this guy, and they're going to be a goal-scoring player. But you also need defensemen. Like Cale Makar wasn't a first overall pick, but Colorado needed him. If Colorado won that first overall pick, they would never get Cale Makar. See what I'm getting at? they wouldn't have built a better team just because they got a bunch of first overall picks. So let's say Edmonton misses the first overall pick this year. Let's say they draft Adam Larson. Let's just say they draft Adam Larson instead of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Okay, because clearly they coveted Larson since that draft. So let's just say Larson would have been their next pick, right? And Larson pre-Taylor Hall trade. So he was pretty good, and he's still decent, right?
He's still solid.
So then Nail Yakupov. Well, what if instead of Nail Yakupov, they draft Ryan Murray? I mean, besides his injury, he's been a pretty good defenseman throughout his career. He's not been that bad. His NHL totals in 432 games, he has 114 points. 128 points as a defenseman. That's not bad. That's a good puck-moving guy. He plays a good two-way game. Put him with Adam Larson. Boom, that's a decent defensive pairing. Wow, look at that. Crazy. So instead of Nail Yakupov, who's not even there anymore. So boom, another one. If they just missed out on the first overall pick, they're set. Or if you go to 5th overall, look at that. Morgan Riley, who's arguably one of the best best players of that draft, or Hampus Lindholm.
Or they could have thrown a dart at a board, and they could have picked up Frederick Anderson in the 3rd round.
Well, I've done talking to people at the top 6.
Yeah.
So, but look, there's Morgan Riley, Hampus Lindholm, Matt Dumba. So from 5th till 9th, these are the picks: Morgan Riley, Hampus Lindholm, Matt Dumba, Derek Pouliot. I mean, that's not really a big hit there, and Jacob Trouba. And then down to 11th is Phil Forsberg. They would have been better off with anybody there other than Nail Yakupov. If they got Ryan Murray or Morgan Riley, I mean, Griffin Reinhart would have been bad too, but they also coveted him for some reason. But that right there would have been another franchise-building piece instead of Nail Yakupov. Right. And then, boom, the Connor McDavid draft. I mean, you couldn't really go wrong either. You miss it, you get Eichel. Or, Dylan Strom's not a great pick. Everyone knew his stats are mostly inflated because of McDavid, but he's still a good player in his own right. He has 163 points in 258 games. That's still impressive. Or there's Mitch Marner, Noah Hanifin, Ivan Provorov, Zach Werenski, Mikko Rantanen. Dude, I mean, I would take McDavid over all those names. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, if they missed out on McDavid, they'd be a better franchise. I'm just saying, if maybe in the earlier drafts, instead of getting the first overall pick, they got 4th or 5th or 3rd, they would have taken a better variety of pieces rather than being kind of handcuffed into taking the best player available every draft, which is almost always going to be a dynamic scoring forward, right?
I agree.
I think honestly, Edmonton, low key, your lottery luck was actually
Edmonton's
unlucky.
just bad.
I always tell people just Canucks fans and stuff, when they always wanted to go team tank or whatever, I always say it's not like there's a McDavid in this draft, and at the same time, it's just okay, who knows if this first overall guy is gonna be that much better than the 5th overall guy or whatever, because we just don't know, right? It's just
unless it's a McDavid level player,
exactly,
like Connor Bedard. Everyone knows, but even then, Matvei Michkov is breaking tons of records too.
Yeah,
and so is the guy. There's a guy in the U.S. as well. He's breaking a bunch of records too. So there's a 3-headed race kind of. I mean, Connor Bedard's been coveted as the favorite for a while, especially because Michkov is signed in the KHL. Although with the war happening in Ukraine, the KHL might be dissolved. Then boom, there goes his contract. He can come to the NHL right away. So that might make him coveted too. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. It goes to show getting the first overall pick doesn't mean you're going to turn your franchise around.
Well, this is giving me ideas for when the season's over and we have that little period of time when we actually won't have too much to talk about. I think we can do probably this. Just look at specific teams and be like, okay, what the team could have been in the last 10 years. Who else could they have drafted in their realm of players here? That'd be a fun thing to do. This was pretty cool to look at.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I look back at the Canadians one too at times. They could have been a really good team. But
that's every team. You're assuming that every team hits on every pick, and that's just not.
The percentage is pretty low, honestly.
Right.
It is for every team. It's just low.
Yeah,
just because there's so many players in the draft. There's 200 something, right? So it's not all of them are gonna hit in the league anyway.
Do you guys want to talk about the Habs development record though? Throughout the last couple of years,
guys,
we've been a league worse by a wide margin.
How are we doing? We'll end on some Habs chat.
Sure. I mean, we're pretty far into the stream. If you guys want to have this
Do you want to save it
subject.
then? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well,
okay. Sure.
Oh, let's just go to something else.
This
I'm down with something else.
Well, do we want to go with our games too?
Oh yeah, pick our picks.
Let's do our matchups first then. Let's do our predictions now.
I'll just tell you guys. So okay, Punch won. He went 5 for 10. I went.
Wow, we are
10.
terrible at this. Holy shit!
And then Mike went 2 for 10.
Turnecraft for 400. Don't actually play. Oh no. That's how we get muted.
Yeah, Mike went 2 for 10, so that was the worst one of us. Today we got the 9 games, I guess. We got 9 games: Leafs, Bruins, Canadiens, Panthers, Islanders, Blue Jackets, Rangers, Penguins, Hurricanes versus Lightning. That'll be a good game. Another match or rematch. Predators, Senators, Flames, and Avs, Wild and Flyers, and Stars and Ducks.
Nice.
Who wants to go first? Who wants to pick first? Okay, Leafs and
I'm
Bruins.
gonna say Bruins tonight. Oh yeah. I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling the Bruins. They want that 3rd place, and the Leafs don't. I think they want
Punch?
I've got the Leafs. Austin Matthews is on a record pace right now.
True.
And I also need him to score on my fantasy team.
I'm gonna go Bruins because they have a player better than Matthews, and his name is Pasternak. I'm kidding. Go on.
I was gonna say, hold on. That's a debate in itself right there. Don't know how long it would last, but
Canadiens, Panthers.
Ooh, I'm going Florida. I learned from my mistake last time. I'm going Florida.
Oh man,
it did not go well, guys. I guess Canadiens, although they put up a fight, it didn't go very well.
It did go well.
Or 2 Panthers.
Punch?
I'm actually gonna go Montreal this time around.
Okay.
You think they're gonna get to 19 wins tonight? You believe?
Unlike you, I have faith in your team.
Right? Because like now they've been officially eliminated, so it's like maybe they're gonna throw everything at the wall and be like, you know what?
I'm joking.
We're not that bad. But that being said, I'm thinking Panthers.
I know. I've been saying, oh, the first overall pick doesn't necessarily mean you're turning your team around. Looking at the Canadiens prospect pool, they do need a dynamic forward. So I still kind of want that first overall pick. Shane Wright, I'd welcome you with open arms, my friend, because they don't have a guy like Shane Wright on their team, other than like maybe Suzuki or Caulfield, but they're very different from Shane Wright. So they could use a guy like him. But anyway, let's move on to, is Carolina Tampa next, right?
Islanders, Blue Jackets.
Oh shit. Okay. Islanders. I just want them to go on a bit of a tear here and make it even just slightly closer for themselves.
Punch?
I'm going Blue Jackets.
I'm also going CBJ.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I mean, you got to believe in Line right now. He's been good.
Yeah.
I love Line.
Line's good.
Yeah, he's
villain of the NHL. Rangers, Penguins. Yeah, Fortnite.
Penguins. Easy money, Penguins.
I'm going Rangers.
I'm going Penguins.
That hurt a bit, Punch. Broke my heart.
Okay, and now we got Carolina and Tampa Bay.
Oh, that's a good matchup. I'm gonna go with. I think Carolina won last time, and Tampa Bay was not happy about it. I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay. You know they're gonna be fired up for this one.
Punch?
I'm going Carolina. Swipey, we are feeling good. We're hyped. We're about to end, but
yeah,
like momentum's here.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going Tampa for the same reasons Mike went for Tampa.
Fair enough.
And then we got Sens and Predators.
Preds. Not even a question. Thomas Chabot's not playing. Not even a question.
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
He's gonna say Sens.
Actually, can I change my answer to Sens? I want to feel good story today. I'm going Senators.
All right.
I need to feel.
I'm
gonna
go Sens with Jimmy Stutzel hat trick.
Let's
you
go.
Guys are crazy. I'm going Preds. Okay, we got Flyers.
We need that
Wild.
feel good story, man. Come on.
Flyers, Wild.
Wild. It's not going to be close.
I'm gonna go Flyers, and Kevin Hayes is gonna put up the rooster trick.
I'm going
What's
Flyers
the
as well.
rooster trick?
They're my feel good story today.
4 goals. Are you crazy? For Kevin Hayes. Well, it's like Maury scored all season.
Named after Joe Thornton, the Rooster Shrek. Named in honor of Joe Thornton.
I had never heard of it before.
All right.
I gotta be honest with you. I had never heard of that before. But I'll trust.
Colorado
I'll
or
trust your word.
Calgary?
Colorado.
Battle of the Seas.
I think Colorado's going to break 50 wins soon. They're at
Yeah.
46. It's going to happen soon.
Yep.
Who does Colorado have?
Calgary.
Well, what?
Colorado's in Calgary.
No, I've got Calgary.
Calgary.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Colorado. They've lost a few games in a row, and they're gonna have a good game today. Stars and Ducks is their last matchup.
I think John Gibson's going to have a beautiful game. I'm going with Ducks. Hopefully he's starting, then I'll feel like an idiot. But Ducks.
Punch?
Stars. Jason Robertson's been playing really well.
Yes, and for that reason, I'm picking the Ducks. I just want the Stars to lose. That's all. All right, nice. Okay, we got our games, and chat. Feel free to put your predictions in the predictions chat. Mike did a really good job on the Discord and
thank you.
Updated it. And yeah, so there's a whole predictions thing there, and we can all put whatever you guys want there, and we can review it after for sure.
So I send out the link to the Discord in chat. So if you want to join our Discord, click the link below. You can place your predictions in the predictions chat. And Berta will help monitor that for you. And on Thursday, you'll find out, did you do better or worse than us? I went 2 for 10 this last Thursday. Clearly, I wasn't in my usual zone. You know, I wasn't getting the same feedback. You know, I needed to be in my spot. You know, so now I think this week's gonna be good. I think I'm gonna go at least 10 for 10, maybe 11 for 10. I think I could do that. Oh man. All right. Well, do you guys want to end it there, or do you want to talk about the Habs briefly?
I gotta get going.
We'll end it there then.
Yeah,
that's all right. We'll end it there because we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Trust me, there's a lot of picks that you guys will laugh at, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, how did they mess that up?" You'll see. But anyway, thank you everybody for stopping by. We appreciate all your support. Huge shout out to Swipey Vibe. Obviously, Ponch and Berta for hanging out. But Nick9920, Lucky Looney Sports, obviously Spider-Man from Naruto, Vinzuko. I think we had Cheese Whiz. Yep, Cheese Whiz was in here as well. I'm assuming Mixawtrap was in here at some point. I don't see his name, but I think I saw him at some point. So thank you everyone for stopping by. If you're watching after the fact, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube as The Fan Connection. So check us out there. Give us a follow. Drop a rating. Helps us out a lot. We really appreciate any support that you might have. If you want to leave a comment, you can leave it on our YouTube channel in one of our videos, and we'll definitely get back to you. Or you can leave it in the Discord. The link will be in the bio, at least in our Twitch bio at SomeLazyGuy09. So thank you everybody for stopping by, and we'll see you all again soon.